The morning started like any other, but little did anyone know that it would turn into a day full of tension, silent observations, and a lesson about assumptions. The woman walked into the building with her usual calm, steady pace. She had been here before, often unnoticed, and she knew the routine. Her mind moved quickly through the possibilities of the day ahead. While her eyes scanned the room with a sense of quiet focus, she had learned to read people and situations, to catch the subtle signals others often missed. Across the room, another woman had entered with an air of confidence that immediately drew attention. She carried herself as if she owned every inch of space she walked through. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor, echoing a kind of authority that came from habit, not from kindness. She had a way of looking at people, sizing them up in a matter of seconds, assuming she knew their place in the world. And when she saw the other woman, her expression shifted slightly, a flicker of judgment, a quiet smile that hinted at a challenge. The confident woman thought she could take control, that she could manipulate the situation with a few well-placed words and gestures. She didn't notice the calm in the other woman's eyes, the steady heartbeat beneath the composed exterior. She didn't see that this was someone who had faced challenges before, someone who had learned that appearances were often misleading. It started with a simple question, one that seemed routine but carried more weight than anyone realized. The confident woman asked something in a tone that was meant to assert dominance, to put the other on the defensive. "Are you sure you understand the process here?" she asked, with a hint of condescension that was hard to ignore. Everyone nearby seemed to nod in agreement with her, as if her words carried unquestionable authority. The underestimated woman didn't answer immediately. She took a moment, not because she didn't know the answer, but because she wanted the other woman to reveal more of herself. Her silence was intentional, a quiet strategy that made the room feel slightly heavier, as if time had slowed. The confident woman shifted, a slight twitch in her posture, betraying a hint of impatience. She was used to people responding quickly to her commands, to her energy. She was not used to silence being met with silence. Around them, the atmosphere began to change. Others in the room were watching, some curious, some anxious, and some entertained by the tension. The confident woman started to speak again, this time louder, trying to regain the upper hand. She repeated the question, rephrased it, added more emphasis, all in an effort to corner the other into a mistake. But the calm woman remained composed. She smiled slightly, a subtle lift of her lips that suggested she was not intimidated, not at all. The room seemed to hold its breath, caught between the arrogance of one and the quiet confidence of the other. The confident woman decided to increase the pressure. She leaned slightly forward, making her presence more imposing. "I need to see that you know what you're doing," she said, her voice firm and commanding. She was certain that this would be enough to shake the other's confidence, to make her falter. She didn't realize that the underestimated woman had faced far greater challenges. She had learned to stay calm when others tried to intimidate her. She had learned that true strength was quiet, patient, and steady. The calm woman finally spoke, her voice soft but clear. "I understand perfectly," she said, without hesitation, without any trace of fear or doubt. Her words were simple, but they carried weight. They didn't need to be loud or aggressive to command attention. The confident woman blinked, momentarily taken aback. She had expected hesitation, uncertainty, maybe even a nervous response. She had expected to have the upper hand, but instead, she found herself facing a presence that refused to be diminished. The room seemed to shift around them. People who had been nodding in agreement with the confident woman now looked slightly uncertain. Some began to whisper quietly, exchanging glances that suggested they were starting to reconsider their assumptions. The confident woman noticed the change, and for the first time she felt a flicker of doubt. She tried to brush it off, tried to regain control. But the calm woman's composure made it harder than she anticipated. The confident woman decided to switch tactics. She started listing rules, procedures, and expectations. Trying to overwhelm the other with information, thinking that volume would equal authority, she spoke quickly with precision, expecting to catch the other off guard. But the calm woman listened carefully, nodding occasionally, absorbing everything without showing any sign of confusion or fear. She didn't interrupt. She didn't challenge. She simply let the words flow past her, analyzing each one in her mind. As the minutes passed, it became clear that the confident woman's strategy was not working. She tried to maintain her poise, to keep the upper hand, but subtle signs of frustration began to show. Her hands clenched slightly, her jaw tightened, and her eyes darted more frequently. She had expected to dominate the conversation, to assert control effortlessly. But the calm woman's quiet strength was proving to be more formidable than anticipated. At one point, the confident woman made a bold statement, assuming that she had cornered the other. "I've dealt with situations like this countless times," she said, her tone sharp and certain. "You should follow my lead if you want to get this right." She smiled, a confident smile that was meant to intimidate, to assert superiority. But the calm woman didn't flinch. She simply nodded politely, a gentle acknowledgement that she had heard the words. But she made no move to react immediately. The tension in the room was palpable. People were leaning in slightly, watching closely, waiting to see what would happen next. Some had already made judgments, some were reconsidering them. And some were quietly cheering for the calm woman, sensing that the situation was about to shift. The confident woman, sensing the change in the room, tried to assert herself more aggressively, but each attempt only highlighted her frustration. She had underestimated the other's experience, composure, and insight. The calm woman finally made her move, but not in the way the confident woman expected. She reached into her bag and pulled out her ID. It was simple, it's unassuming, and yet it carried a weight that immediately commanded attention. She placed it on the table, letting it be seen without making a show of it. The confident woman's eyes widened slightly, a flash of recognition and shock passing across her face. She had assumed that appearances told the full story, that confidence alone was enough to dominate. But this small card had just changed everything. The room seemed to hold its breath again, this time for a different reason. The ID represented authority, experience, and legitimacy that the confident woman had ignored or dismissed. It wasn't about boasting or aggression. It was about truth, clarity, and rightful standing. The calm woman had proven, silently, that her presence mattered, that she could not be underestimated. Whispers began to ripple through the room, quiet at first, then a little louder. People exchanged glances, some surprised, some impressed, and some slightly embarrassed for having sided with the confident woman's assumptions. The confident woman tried to regain control, to reclaim the upper hand, but her voice lacked the certainty it had carried before. The shift was subtle but undeniable. The balance of power had changed. The calm woman didn't need to say more. Her actions, her presence, and the simple display of her ID spoke louder than words ever could. She had faced judgment, arrogance, and intimidation, and she had met it all with patience and quiet confidence. The lesson was clear to everyone in the room. Never judge someone based on appearances, tone, or assumptions. The confident woman, realizing that her strategy had failed, took a step back. Her posture softened slightly, and the sharpness in her voice diminished. She had learned, in a subtle yet undeniable way, that confidence without understanding could lead to misjudgment. The calm woman, meanwhile, remained poised, serene, and unshaken. She had shown strength not through aggression, but through quiet competence, observation, and integrity. As the morning continued, the calm woman handled the situation with ease, guiding the process with knowledge and skill. Others began to follow her lead naturally, recognizing the authority and experience she carried. The confident woman, once sure of her dominance, found herself navigating the room with caution. Aware that her assumptions had been flawed by the time the morning had passed, the lesson was clear. True strength comes from preparation, composure, and the quiet ability to reveal truth when the moment calls for it. The calm woman had walked into a room where she was underestimated, faced someone who thought they could win through arrogance, and had done nothing overtly dramatic. Yet, through patience, observation, and a simple card that represented her legitimacy, she had shifted the entire dynamic. People left that room thinking about what had just happened. Some reflected on their own assumptions, realizing how easily they could be fooled by appearances. Others admired the calm woman's composure, recognizing that power was not about noise, aggression, or dominance, but about clarity, patience, and self-assurance. It was a morning that started like any other, but ended with a quiet, undeniable truth. Underestimating someone based on confidence alone is a mistake that can lead to unexpected consequences. And sometimes all it takes is one small, simple action and display of identity, integrity, truth to completely change the course of a situation. The calm woman had done just that, and she had done it with grace, patience, and an unwavering sense of purpose. The room seemed to hold its breath as the tension grew. After the calm woman revealed her ID, everyone's eyes lingered for a moment longer than usual. The confident woman's expression shifted from pride to disbelief. She had thought she had control, that she could dominate through her presence and force of personality. But now, a new dynamic had taken over the space. The balance of power had shifted. Quietly yet unmistakably, the confident woman tried to recover, straightening her posture and adjusting her jacket as if that would restore authority. She spoke again, attempting to sound commanding, but the edge in her voice had softened. There was a hint of doubt creeping in. It was subtle, but the observant eyes of the calm woman caught it immediately. She did not respond right away. Instead, she watched closely, observing every movement, every shift in tone, every gesture. She knew that in situations like this, patience was a tool more powerful than words. Around them, people began to murmur quietly. Some were surprised by the unexpected display of legitimacy from the calm woman. Others began to rethink their assumptions. Whispers traveled through the room, small and cautious at first, and then gaining confidence. People started to exchange glances. Their curiosity piqued. Realizing that the confident woman's dominance was not absolute, the calm woman had introduced a variable that could not be ignored. And suddenly, her presence demanded respect. The confident woman, sensing the subtle shift, decided to escalate. She began to list procedures and rules, attempting to regain control by overwhelming the room with information. She spoke quickly, moving her hands to emphasize points, trying to show that knowledge equated to authority. She believed that speed and volume would make people follow her lead, but the calm woman remained composed. She listened carefully, nodding occasionally, not missing a single detail. Her silence was not uncertainty. It was careful calculation. She let the confident woman reveal all her cards first. Time passed slowly. The confident woman started asking more pointed questions, testing limits, trying to provoke mistakes. She was convinced that if she pressured the calm woman, she would falter. But no matter how aggressive or insistent the questions became, the calm woman maintained her composure. She answered each question with clarity, precision, and patience. Her words were simple, but they carried weight. She did not rush, she did not stumble, and she did not allow emotion to cloud her. Judgment, it became increasingly apparent to everyone present that the confident woman's attempts at control were failing. Her energy began to shift from assertive to strained. She repeated herself more often, gesturing more forcefully, trying to dominate the conversation through sheer insistence. But each effort only emphasized the calm woman's unshakable presence. She remained focused, her demeanor steady, letting facts and truth guide her, rather than aggression or intimidation. As the pressure intensified, a subtle but crucial detail emerged. The calm woman revealed a piece of information that seemed small at first, but carried immense significance. She referred to a document, a protocol, or a procedure that the confident woman had overlooked. It was a quiet revelation delivered without drama, but it immediately caused those paying attention to pause and reconsider. The confident woman's confidence wavered further. She realized she had underestimated her counterpart, assuming that appearances and assertiveness alone could control the situation. People in the room began to notice the shift. Some had initially been inclined to side with the confident woman, impressed by her assertiveness. Now, they began to reconsider. They exchanged glances, whispered quietly, and started following the calm woman's lead. The change was subtle, almost imperceptible to an outsider, but to those present, it was unmistakable. The tide was turning not with noise or confrontation, but with careful observation, patience, and a quiet display of competence. The confident woman, sensing that her dominance was slipping, decided to take a bolder approach. She raised her voice, trying to reassert control, attempting to make her authority unquestionable. She pointed out rules, deadlines, and potential consequences, hoping that fear or pressure would bring the calm woman to her side. But instead of reacting with panic or defensiveness, the calm woman maintained her steady gaze. She listened attentively, absorbing every word, weighing every argument, and planning her response carefully. Her calmness was disarming. It revealed a depth of understanding that the confident woman had not anticipated. At one point, the confident woman tried to involve others, calling for support from colleagues and bystanders. She assumed that collective agreement would bolster her position, that numbers and alliances would intimidate. But the calm woman had already built quiet credibility. She had shown competence, composure, and clarity from the start. Her idea had validated her authority, and her words reinforced it. Slowly, people began to side with her, drawn not by pressure or popularity, but by reason and evidence. The confident woman began to realize that her assumptions about influence and control were flawed, despite the growing pressure. The calm woman remained polite, composed, and patient. She did not interrupt. She did not challenge aggressively, and she did not allow emotion to cloud her judgment. Her strategy was simple, yet effective. Let the confident woman expose herself through overconfidence, observe carefully, and respond with clarity when the moment was right. Every gesture, every word, and every pause was intentional, creating an unspoken tension that kept the room engaged and alert as the minutes turned into hours. The confident woman's frustration became more apparent. Her repeated attempts to assert dominance were met with quiet resistance, and her audience began to shift subtly toward the calm woman. Each small mistake she made, each assumption she revealed, only strengthened the other's position. The calm woman did not celebrate or gloat. She simply allowed truth and logic to do their work. Her strength lay in restraint, in observing, and in using facts rather than theatrics to command respect. Eventually, the confident woman made a critical misstep. She assumed she had a final, unchallengeable argument, a point she believed would end the situation decisively in her favor. She presented it forcefully, expecting to silence doubt and cement her authority. But the calm woman had anticipated this move. She responded calmly, methodically, and without emotion. Her answer was simple, direct, and unassailable. The room reacted immediately. Whispers grew louder, heads nodded, and the once confident woman realized that her position had been undermined completely. The confident woman's frustration reached its peak. Her energy shifted from assertive to desperate, and she began to realize that control was slipping from her hands. She had relied on appearances, volume, and assumptions, underestimating the calm woman's experience and insight. Now facing undeniable competence, she found herself forced to reconsider every move, every word, and every assumption she had made. Her presence, once commanding, was now hesitant, uncertain, and reactive. Meanwhile, the calm woman continued to demonstrate patience, skill, and quiet confidence. She guided the situation with subtle precision, allowing the truth to emerge naturally. She answered questions clearly, addressed concerns logically, maintained a demeanor that was both approachable and authoritative. Her ID, her knowledge, and her composure all combined to create a presence that could not be ignored. People naturally gravitated toward her, seeking guidance, clarification, and insight. By mid-morning, the room had completely transformed. The confident woman, once certain of her dominance, now struggled to maintain credibility. The calm woman had not raised her voice, had not made threats, and had not resorted to aggression. Instead, she had relied on observation, patience, and truth. Her strategy was subtle but powerful, and its effects were undeniable. The atmosphere shifted from tension to respect, from uncertainty to clarity. As the situation continued to unfold, the calm woman demonstrated another critical skill, the ability to anticipate and neutralize potential obstacles. She remained one step ahead, predicting the confident woman's moves, responding effectively, and maintaining composure. Each action reinforced her credibility and authority. The confident woman, despite her attempts, could not regain the upper hand. Every effort to assert control was met with measured, deliberate responses that highlighted competence rather than confrontation. The observers in the room became increasingly aware of the dynamic. Some reflected on their own assumptions, realizing how easily they had been swayed by appearances and confidence. Others admired the calm woman's ability to navigate a challenging situation with skill and grace. The confident woman, meanwhile, faced a quiet reckoning. Recognizing that her approach had been flawed and that true authority required more than assertiveness, it required knowledge, composure, and integrity. By the afternoon, the situation had reached a resolution, though not in the way anyone had anticipated at the start of the day. The calm woman had not needed to raise her voice or make a scene. She had relied on patience, careful observation, and a quiet display of legitimacy. Her presence, skill, and integrity had shifted the balance of power, demonstrating that true influence comes from competence, not arrogance. The confident woman, once so sure of her position, now understood that assumptions and appearances could be dangerously misleading. The room, once tense and uncertain, was now filled with a sense of quiet respect. People reflected on the unfolding events, recognizing the lessons embedded in the interactions they had witnessed. The calm woman's approach had been subtle, yet profoundly effective. She had shown that patience, observation, and integrity could triumph over arrogance, assumptions, and superficial confidence. And she had done it all without drama, without aggression, and without raising her voice. As the day drew to a close, the calm woman walked through Tith. The calm woman had been quiet for some time, letting the situation unfold naturally, but now she sensed it was the right moment to act. The confident woman, still holding on to the hope that she could regain control, had begun to make mistakes, small but noticeable. She assumed that her presence alone would intimidate, that her words carried unquestionable authority. She did not realize that the room had started to see the truth, that her arrogance had blinded her to reality. The calm woman observed carefully, waiting for the exact moment when the confident woman's guard would slip entirely. It was then that the calm woman leaned slightly forward and revealed another layer of her preparedness. She had been keeping a small folder with documents and credentials close, something the confident woman had not anticipated. She slid it across the table slowly, letting it catch the light. Everyone's attention shifted immediately. The confident woman's eyes widened in recognition, and a few people in the room whispered softly, sensing that something significant was about to be revealed. The documents were not flashy or dramatic, but they contained undeniable proof of legitimacy and authority. The calm woman had anticipated the need to demonstrate her position, not through force or intimidation, but through clear, verifiable evidence. She had meticulously prepared for every possible challenge, every attempt to question her authority, and now, as she opened the folder, it became clear that her preparation was complete. The confident woman's confident smile faltered as she realized that she had underestimated the depth of the other woman's planning. The calm woman spoke next, her voice steady and clear. She did not raise it. There was no need. She simply stated the facts, referencing the documents, citing rules and precedents, and explaining her position with clarity. Every word was deliberate, precise, and measured. She did not add emotion or flourish. She let the facts speak for themselves, and as they did, the room reacted. People leaned in closer, paying attention, nodding, some exchanging quiet remarks. Impressed by the thoroughness and poise of the calm woman, the confident woman tried to interject, to disrupt the flow, but her attempts were clumsy. She spoke over the calm woman, raised her voice, and pointed out supposed discrepancies, but each attempt was met with clear, concise answers. The calm woman anticipated every move, addressing each challenge without hesitation, without letting frustration or impatience show. Her responses were not combative. They were corrective, factual, and methodical. The room began to sense that the confident woman's position was weakening. and the tension in the air grew palpable. People started to murmur, softly at first, and then more audibly. They began to question their initial assumptions. Realizing that they had been influenced by the confident woman's demeanor rather than the substance of her arguments, they began to notice the calm woman's poise, her thorough preparation, and her ability to address every concern with clarity. The confident woman, once sure of her dominance, now found herself isolated, her support diminishing with each passing moment. As the calm woman continued, she introduced another critical element. She referenced a previous incident, a precedent that clearly supported her position. She did not brag or boast. She simply stated the facts, connecting the past to the present in a logical, unassailable way. The confident woman's expression changed again, from frustration to disbelief. She realized that she had overlooked something fundamental. Her assumptions about control and influence had been wrong. The room reacted subtly but unmistakably. Heads nodded, eyes widened, and quiet acknowledgments spread through the crowd. The calm woman's strategy was working perfectly. She had created a space where facts and integrity mattered more than appearances and confidence. She had demonstrated that true authority was not about loud voices or assertive gestures, but about preparation, composure, and the ability to address challenges calmly and effectively. Every word she spoke, every document she referenced, every point she made reinforced her credibility and undermined the confident woman's misplaced sense of control. The confident woman tried a final, desperate tactic. She attempted to appeal to emotion, to sway the crowd through theatrics and forceful speech. She gestured broadly, spoke loudly, and tried to frame the situation as a matter of loyalty or influence. But the calm woman remained unaffected. She continued to respond with clarity, addressing each point logically, calmly, and systematically. Her poise was unshakable, her confidence quiet but undeniable. And as the minutes passed, it became clear that the tide had turned completely. Observers in the room began to take sides, subtly at first, then more openly. Those who had initially supported the confident woman began to shift their attention. Drawn by the calm woman's reasoned arguments and clear evidence, others, who had remained neutral, leaned in, recognizing the authority and integrity she displayed. The confident woman, despite her efforts, could not regain the momentum she had lost. Her confidence was now tempered by uncertainty, her dominance replaced by careful observation. The calm woman seized the opportunity to further solidify her position. She presented another document, a piece of evidence that directly addressed the confident woman's previous claims. She did not raise her voice or make a scene. She simply laid it out logically and allowed the room to absorb it. The reaction was immediate. Whispers grew louder, eyes widened in realization, and the confident woman's expression betrayed frustration and a hint of panic. She had miscalculated, assumed too much, and now the consequences were clear. For the calm woman, this was not about victory or proving superiority. She remained polite, respectful, and composed, focused entirely on ensuring clarity and fairness. Her goal was to correct misconceptions and provide undeniable evidence of her authority. And in doing so, she had shifted the entire dynamic. The confident woman, by contrast, had relied solely on appearances and assumptions, and now faced the consequences of her overconfidence. As the situation progressed, the calm woman continued to address each concern, each challenge, and each question with meticulous care. She anticipated potential objections, responded logically, and maintained a demeanor that was calm yet authoritative. Her presence commanded respect not through aggression, but through reason, preparation, and quiet strength. The confident woman, increasingly aware of her own mistakes, tried to interject, but her words fell flat, lacking the clarity and weight that the calm woman brought to every point. The room, once tense and divided, now leaned toward clarity and reason. The calm woman's approach had revealed the truth, corrected misconceptions, and demonstrated undeniable competence. People began to reflect on their own assumptions, recognizing the subtle ways in which confidence and appearances can mislead. The confident woman, now facing undeniable evidence, had no choice but to step back and reassess. Her attempts at intimidation and control had failed, replaced by a quiet, overwhelming display of competence and integrity. As the morning turned to afternoon, the calm woman's strategy reached its peak. She summarized her points clearly, presenting the evidence, the precedents, and the logical reasoning in a concise, compelling way. She did not raise her voice or demand attention. She simply let the facts speak for themselves. The effect was profound. The confident woman, despite her attempts to dominate, could no longer claim authority. The room had shifted, respect had been earned, and clarity had prevailed. In the final moments of this phase, the calm woman addressed the room one last time, reinforcing her position with quiet confidence. She spoke with authority, but without aggression. She acknowledged concerns, corrected misunderstandings, and presented her position with integrity. Every word reinforced her credibility and further diminished the confident woman's influence. The shift was complete. The dynamic had been altered not through conflict or confrontation, but through preparation, observation, and calm, deliberate action. People left the room reflecting on what they had witnessed. Some had learned a lesson about assumptions and appearances, realizing how easily they could be misled. Others admired the calm woman's poise, her ability to navigate a challenging situation without aggression or drama. The confident woman, meanwhile, had experienced a moment of reckoning, understanding that authority is earned through competence, integrity, and careful preparation, not through bluster or force. By the end of this chapter of the story, it was clear that the calm woman had achieved something remarkable. She had faced an opponent who believed she could win through confidence alone, and she had responded with patience, preparation, and quiet authority. She had demonstrated that power is not about loud voices or dominant gestures, but about knowledge, clarity, and integrity. And she had done it in a way that left everyone in the room changed. More aware of the true nature of influence and respect, the confident woman, now subdued, had learned the hard way that assumptions can be dangerous, that appearances can mislead, and that true authority requires more than confidence. The calm woman, on the other hand, had reinforced the value of patience, preparation, and reason. She had shown that even in a room full of assumptions and challenges, clarity and integrity could prevail. The moment marked a turning point, a shift from tension and uncertainty to understanding and respect. Setting the stage for what would come next in this unfolding story, the shift in the room was unmistakable. The confident woman, who had entered with an air of superiority and certainty, now found herself struggling to maintain authority. Her previous gestures of dominance were now tinged with hesitation, and her attempts to assert control fell flat. Every move she made was observed, analyzed, and countered with precision by the calm woman, whose quiet authority had grown stronger with each passing moment. She had not needed to raise her voice, make threats, or dramatize her position. Her presence alone, combined with her knowledge and preparation, had changed the dynamic completely. The calm woman had a remarkable ability to anticipate the confident woman's actions. She had studied the environment, the people present, and the behavior of her counterpart carefully. Each step, each gesture, each word was considered and ready for a response. When the confident woman attempted to leverage her connections, to imply that she had support behind her, the calm woman addressed the situation with clarity, showing that true authority was not about alliances or appearances, but about competence and integrity. People in the room started to notice the contrast more clearly. Some had initially sided with the confident woman, impressed by her assertiveness and strong presence. Now they saw the difference between noise and substance, between arrogance and genuine competence. Quietly, they began to shift their attention, paying closer attention to the calm woman's reasoning, her measured responses, and her clear demonstration of knowledge. The whispers grew, heads nodded, and a sense of realization began to spread. The confident woman's influence was waning, replaced by a growing recognition of the calm woman's credibility. The calm woman remained poised, never losing focus, never allowing herself to be distracted by the confident woman's attempts to regain control. She addressed concerns one by one, explaining points thoroughly and logically, without unnecessary elaboration. She used her ID, her documents, and her clear knowledge as tools, letting facts speak louder than words ever could. It was a subtle but powerful demonstration of the principle that preparation and truth outweigh volume and aggression. The confident woman, growing increasingly frustrated, made another attempt to regain her footing. She raised her voice, emphasizing rules and authority, expecting the pressure to cause the calm woman to falter. But the calm woman did not react with fear or hesitation. She continued to respond calmly, addressing each assertion with clarity and precision. Every counterpoint she made reinforced her credibility, while the confident woman's desperation became more apparent. The energy in the room had shifted completely, and even those who had been hesitant observers now leaned toward the calm woman's approach. It was in this moment that the calm woman made a strategic move. She presented additional evidence, documents that confirmed her position beyond any doubt. She laid them out methodically, explaining their significance in a simple and clear manner. There was no dramatic flourish, no attempt to belittle or embarrass the confident woman. She simply let the evidence speak for itself. The impact was immediate. People in the room recognized the strength of her position, the thoroughness of her preparation, and the fairness of her approach. The confident woman, for the first time, could not find a way to counter the facts. Her previous confidence had dissolved into frustration and resignation. The atmosphere in the room had changed from tension and anticipation to clarity and understanding. People who had been swayed by appearances now saw the difference between true competence and surface-level confidence. They recognized the calm woman's ability to handle a challenging situation with patience, intelligence, and grace. Even the confident woman had to acknowledge internally, if not aloud, that she had misjudged her counterpart. The assumptions that had guided her behavior were now revealed as errors. As the morning transitioned into the afternoon, the calm woman continued to navigate the situation with precision. She addressed questions, clarified doubts, and corrected misconceptions without ever raising her voice or becoming defensive. Her approach was a masterclass in quiet authority. The confident woman tried multiple times to regain momentum, pointing out supposed errors, questioning procedures, and invoking rules. But each attempt was met with calm, methodical responses that exposed weaknesses and reinforced the calm woman's credibility. Observers were captivated. Some reflected on their own tendencies to assume power dynamics based on appearances. Others marveled at the calm woman's ability to control a room not through aggression but through logic, preparation, and integrity. The confident woman's attempts at intimidation were no longer effective. They were overshadowed by the calm woman's measured authority. It became increasingly clear that true leadership and influence are earned through competence and patience, not through loudness or bluster. The calm woman's composure had a ripple effect. As she responded to challenges with clarity, other people in the room began to mirror her calmness and rationality. They started engaging in constructive conversation, asking questions, and following the logical flow of her explanations. The confident woman's attempts to regain dominance became less impactful as the collective attention shifted to the calm woman's insights and careful reasoning. The energy in the room was now guided by thoughtfulness and respect rather than force and assertion. At one critical point, the calm woman addressed a particularly complex issue that had been used earlier by the confident woman to assert authority. She broke it down into simple, understandable parts, explaining it step by step and connecting it to relevant precedents. The explanation was thorough, precise, and devoid of unnecessary complexity, making it accessible to everyone present. People nodded, some whispered to each other, and the impact was immediate. The confident woman, realizing she could no longer manipulate perception through volume or intimidation, became visibly flustered. Her arguments now seemed hollow in comparison to the calm woman's clarity. The calm woman did not stop there. She anticipated the next set of challenges and preemptively addressed them. She spoke to potential objections, referenced supporting evidence, and laid out her reasoning in a structured, logical manner. Every point reinforced the previous ones, creating an unbroken chain of clarity and authority. The confident woman's position weakened further, and she began to realize that her assumptions and overconfidence placed her in a vulnerable situation. By mid-afternoon, The room was fully aligned with the calm woman's approach. People were no longer questioning her authority. They were following her lead, engaging with her reasoning, and trusting her judgment. The confident woman, once certain of her control, now faced the stark reality of her misjudgment. She could no longer command attention or dictate outcomes. The calm woman had demonstrated that patience, preparation, and integrity could overcome arrogance and assumptions without any need for conflict or confrontation. The calm woman's final moves in this phase were subtle yet decisive. She summarized her points, reinforcing the evidence and reasoning she had provided throughout the day. She maintained a demeanor of respect and professionalism, acknowledging questions and concerns while making clear the logical conclusions that followed. Her actions solidified her authority not through force, but through consistent demonstration of competence and fairness. The confident woman could no longer argue without, exposing her own lack of preparation and insight. The transformation was evident to everyone present. People reflected on how easily appearances and assumptions can influence perceptions, and how quickly those assumptions can be corrected through clarity, integrity, and careful reasoning. The calm woman had navigated a difficult situation, faced an opponent who believed she could win through confidence alone, and had responded with skill, patience, and quiet authority. The result was a room aligned not by fear or dominance, but by recognition of competence and truth. As the day progressed toward evening, the calm woman concluded her explanations and addressed the remaining concerns with composure. She had not raised her voice, made threats, or sought to humiliate anyone. She had relied on preparation, observation, and clear communication. The confident woman, now subdued, observed in silence, realizing the extent of her misjudgment. The lesson was profound. Authority and influence are not about appearances or volume. They are about integrity, preparation, and the ability to handle challenges with calm, rational clarity. By the time the room began to disperse, the calm woman had left a lasting impression. She had turned a potentially contentious situation into a demonstration of reason, preparation, and competence. People left reflecting on the importance of observation, patience, and thoughtful action. The confident woman had learned a lesson she would not soon forget, understanding that arrogance and assumptions are no match for calm, consistent authority backed by knowledge and integrity. This phase of the story had reached its natural conclusion. The calm woman had successfully navigated the challenges, addressed every concern, and demonstrated the power of quiet authority. She had faced someone who thought they could win through confidence alone and had responded with intelligence, preparation, and patience. The consequences for the confident woman were clear. Misjudgment and overconfidence could not withstand truth, clarity, and integrity. The room had witnessed a lesson in real human leadership, and the impact would be felt long after the day had ended.